Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Hackurate podcast. I'm Nathan Goodman.
I'm Aaron Howell. We're back.
We're here.
Episode 7. Yeah.
We're back
It's
in it.
been a minute. Acknowledge that. But,
Everybody.
it's not like it really matters currently with audience size. But,
Just to let you know where we are physically. A couple minutes ago, I spilled a bunch of water on myself.
yeah.
That's great. But we live in the desert. My pants are already dry.
I am physically doing all right. Walked like 2 miles earlier. Feels good to be moving around. Doing good. Episode 7, Stars on Mars. We've waited about 2 weeks, so we've had 2 episodes. A lot to talk about.
Yeah, I barely remember the first one.
That first one, it was mostly them just standing around, plugging holes. So, as always, spoilers if you haven't seen it yet, but also maybe this will interest you in actually watching it. At some point, they had a bunch of air ruptures in their hab, and they had to send almost everyone outside to cover all the holes that were venting atmosphere. And they had to stand there for about 2 hours while 2 other people mixed a cocktail that would turn into foam plugs within 30 minutes.
Definitely one of the easiest challenges, I feel like, so far.
As far as, I don't know. Translocating, yes. As far as endurance, no.
They just had to stand there.
They just had to stand there. But there were at least 3 of them that were just like, I'm dying.
A couple of them were, it was a little awkward, but I feel like that could have been mitigated with a little bit more planning. They could have swapped out a little bit more often or something.
It was bizarre that they didn't really swap people while they were plugging holes.
Yeah, they just did like one on like a couple of people instead of 2 on one person, and then doing like a swap rotation. They don't plan. They never plan these things out, these astronauts.
No, and that's been my gripe the whole time.
These Martians can't get it together. I'm going to go ahead and start some anti-racism or anti-Mars rhetoric right now.
Marsism?
These Martians they can't plan properly before starting a task. They kind of just go at it.
Yeah. Well, that's because they're not approaching it like it's a life or death situation.
Seems like they're given plenty of information and then just can't usually execute fast enough.
Yeah. I think that's the fundamental flaw with them is still feeling like it's a game. Like it's just because the way they talk about it too, sometimes like in talking heads, still shows that they're just like, yeah, I know I'm in a competition. And it's just like, all right, well, you guys might do better if you treat it a little bit more seriously.
Struggle to survive. You should have watched the movie The Martian before doing this.
You should have. It really covered a lot of the same
Sean
things.
Lynch is so committed.
Yeah.
He's
it's
trying
in his
the
name.
things.
He's Marshawn Lynch.
Now that I'm realizing he's been in all these other like cameos doing like Man versus the Wild and like other random things, I'm like, man, this guy gets around.
Right? Could you imagine
he's just
the
a sports guy with a lot of interests.
Winning too, that's a good credit for your acting / show stuff. He's popping off.
Right.
He's doing really well.
Yeah. It's cool. It's cool to see sports guys get into other things more often and like also have a personality and have interests.
Yeah.
maybe because headgear has gotten so advanced they can get through their career without losing everything that made them a person.
For a second, you said headgear, and I started thinking about braces.
Like helmets. Football helmets. Oof. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word helmet. I just thought of the word headgear first.
Well, but I think that's the technical term. Wouldn't it be called headgear? Because it's protective gear. It is a helmet. It's not a hat. It's a piece of gear. It's equipment.
Right. And I think a lot of people, a lot of them use the chin strap, too. It became a lot more normalized. So, like, helps with the, like, chattering of the jaw when you fall and get tackled and stuff.
Man, I think to
cool.
remember how many times I may have hit my head though when I was like growing up and being like, definitely a few times. I don't know how severe all of them were, but I know I experienced quite a few conks.
Really sucks that conks.
Yeah, getting conked on the head.
All I heard from across the couch was, I really experienced quite a few cocks.
Oh no,
and I was just like, what? Experience some what?
CONK, America.
Really is too bad that sports couldn't be like our great species, like combiner, like make us all come together and cheer for sports.
Yes, well, if anything, sports separates us. That's what we've learned from the World Cup and the Olympics.
Like the Coliseum should have been more
inclusive.
Yeah, like more of a bigger kind of scenario. Get everybody involved, or maybe less people involved. I'm not sure, but at some point it stopped being about everybody coming together to enjoy a sport and more about coming together to possibly fight the other person at the end of the game.
I see some dark.
Go Eagles.
I agree, and I see some dark comedy though in the it being like the least inclusive thing ever because of during the times of sacrifices in the Colosseum, a lot of times they would like target like Christians or like specific groups.
Just throw somebody
like,
in there, yeah.
You guys fight these lions. And of course they're all gonna get mauled. And you're just like
nobody ever beats the lions.
Certainly. So like the idea of like all the Romans coming together for this celebration while simultaneously just being the worst situation.
Right.
Is,
I mean, it's definitely still a form of
shows
sacrifice.
A flaw in human thinking.
Yeah. I mean,
human camaraderie.
That stupid story that they made us read in literature class. God damn it! It was super basic. The ritual, I think. Where they just like put their names in a hat in a village.
No, the lottery.
The lottery. There it is.
You know what's funny? I made that. I made a reference to that at work like this past week.
I hated that story only because I had to read it in 3 different classes.
Yeah.
But by the 3rd time, I was like, I know it can be bad when we ritual sacrifice people. I get it.
Yeah.
And I get that you can tell a weird abstract tale like this and make people feel feelings with words on a page. I understand. Stop making me read the story.
Yeah.
There was another story they made us read in one of my literature classes about
the Scarlet Letter.
No,
the Crucible.
It was a really short one. It was about
Anthem.
No. It was literally about a family in a car driving somewhere and like a grandma complaining too much, and they pick up a hitchhiker, and the hitchhiker like kills them. Whoa. But it's like. They don't notice that the hitchhiker is like a murderer because the grandma's too annoying. And like the whole like day is really like they're all so checked out that they don't notice that the guy is very plainly like a scary person. And they're just like, oh, grab him, get him off we'll move him. And the grandma was like totally about it. And she was being mean to everybody in the car.
Jeez.
And then he kills him at the end. And I'm just like, why are we reading this story? And they're like, didn't you feel something? They feel the power of those words, and you're like, stop making us read these brutal short stories. But
I see where you're coming from. I just have a very different, like, I think perspective on like the type of information I would draw from stories like that.
Yeah,
because to me, like any of those types of things, I was always just like, that's a way to be like kind of observant and to consider the world is like. From that perspective too, so then like it would just add to my like lexicon of being like maybe this is a possibility of.
But that's
like,
the point.
A thing.
The point of reading those stories in literature class is not necessarily to learn the lesson.
Yeah,
it's to learn that the lesson can be told in a story without telling the lesson. It can be told by saying, "Here's a family."
It's learning about metaphor.
Yeah. And being able to tell them through the actions of people making bad decisions.
Yeah,
being like, oh, I can. But you don't read a story for people making good decisions. That's why the stories exist, and that's why they make us read those stories.
Oh yeah, like bad decisions make good stories.
Yeah, you don't read.
That's why news.
Yeah, it's not a story that a family had a good time somewhere, didn't pick up a murder, and didn't die. Yeah, like that's not. So it's kind of like it's a weird. Yin and yang of learning how to write.
Well, and I think part of that too is just to lightly touch on it. It's like it connects more with people because suffering is innate.
Yeah.
And recognition of pain is recognition and validation.
Right.
For an individual.
That's also, I feel like, why nonfiction, I feel like, is pursued a lot nowadays anyway, because there's so much like human stuff to empathize with in things that have already happened that it's like, we're running out of fiction to make that people are like, I don't care about this anymore. I can't empathize with a single thing in this movie. And that's why they don't care about it. So they end up getting drawn into something non-fictional like podcasts or murder documentaries or documentaries in general. There's a whole wave of like the Rockstar documentaries that all go the same way typically, but they all kind of get watched because you're like, oh, there's probably like a change. Like the Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson show that Rachel was watching was kind of entertaining.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is a funny show. And it's funny to see actors that we know doing this thing.
Yeah.
It's funny to see Nick Offerman being like a weird guy with a mullet and like a sleazeball making porn. Like that was a real story. So you watch it and you're just like, oh, this is riveting. this happened? Oh.
Yeah.
And that kind of, I feel like, empathizes on the thing. I mean, like with the competition shows and why we like watch the stars on Mars.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so like, yes, competition and struggle, standing plugging holes for 2 hours. I still think it was a very physically demanding challenge, especially, but you know, part of it too is like in thinking about strategy and like moving one's body for like, you know, trying to stand in one place for a long time. Like my opinion is just like, all right, well, you know, shift as much as you can if you have to. Otherwise, just stand there and like breathe. Time will pass. That's all you have to do. It's
just
very hard, but you have to like, like, you know, don't lock your knees. Stay in the like you can absolutely stand for 2 hours.
Right.
People do it all the time without thinking about it. It's just that when you're still and you have to think about it, it's the being still that's the hard part. Right. So it's like if you can just sit there and get through it, you'll be fine.
Well, and spoilers, the person they sent home,
very hard to do.
The person they sent home is the person that sat down and sat for the entire challenge,
and acted lazy,
and nobody felt like they were going to contribute, and they got sent home immediately after just arriving. Exactly. With the new group of people. So that was pretty funny seeing it go from 3 or 4 new people down to 3 immediately.
3 new people.
And then
fast forward to episode this week, I guess.
Yeah.
That was a weird way to say that.
The week that just happened.
Yeah. Where basically at the end of the challenge, 2 of the 3 new people remaining were put in the bottom.
Even the kicker to that is one of the 3 people remaining of the new group was in charge and was the base lead for the challenge, and then had 2 of them up on the chopping block immediately.
Yeah.
Which made everybody not even know. So I think on that move it was nice because hopefully it'll get everybody back in the game and more focused on the task at hand.
Yeah. No, I
think on like talking about Earth stuff.
Yeah, and you know, and if they spent less time talking about Earth stuff and more time working together to succeed, because really, if I think if they've really embraced the soul of what I think the creators had in mind, then it would be like a collaborative effort where just whoever happens to be doing the least amount of contribution is out. But because they're all going into it with the competition mindset, it's more of who can like feign performance mixed in with who can perform.
You can't see me, but I'm shaking my head over here. Shaking my head saying no, but you're fine.
No, to
I don't disagree.
To what? Whoa.
What do you mean? They're Fox content creators, and I think the creators are probably getting exactly what they want. And every time there's a tense moment, the editors are probably eating it up, and they're probably like, "This is great. This is so much better than them actually doing well."
So
because then it would be hard to send people
opt for like pot stirring. So and the sensational.
I think it couldn't have gone better in terms of like people just bringing things up and getting a little bit heated.
Yeah,
it lingering, like nobody getting sent home immediately. That would make it go away. Like I don't agree with who got sent home, but I don't disagree because it's kind of one of those times where like. You want nobody to get sent home because everybody did okay.
Yeah. Well, and they were willing. They were on their way out mentally. Like that's what they're like. I got to get out of here.
That for sure sucks.
Yeah.
Which like kills me too.
And I'm just like, that's fair because that's what space would be like, and you probably just space yourself if you couldn't actually go back.
Right. I mean, they said it was like an 8-month-year-old, so it's like if it was like
you're missing crucial.
If it was like a 2-year-old, I'd be like, all right, lady, you're fine. The kid's already probably walking and saying mom, so that can be recorded.
Yeah, being gone for like 1 out of 8 like full months of life. That's
like the baby's still like imprinting on you and trying to get at those titties. So it's like you can't just be out of its life.
Right.
That's a bummer.
You can't take the baby out of the titties out of the baby.
Just take the baby into the hab. Throw in a real element of chaos. Nobody's sleeping.
Surprise! First child on Mars. You got to take care of it.
All of the
takes a village.
All of the
takes
stuff.
A hab.
All of the restock supplies is just stuff for the baby. It's all just
diapers and
dehydrated
wipes.
milk and diapers. They're like, we want pizza and wings. We want alcohol.
Someone discovers the dehydrated milk is kind of like dehydrated ice cream, so they're like, start stealing from the baby.
Yeah, I would definitely watch the
Especially
scandal
with how much they complain about the food.
Yeah.
Someone would start stealing that baby's food if it's good.
Like flavoring the baby food and fucking baby powder milk. Just like, gotta get some variety in here. And they're like, it was for the baby. Gerber.
Someone's like, wait, where'd you get mashed peas with your dehydrated salmon?
There's a Gerber in the trash. It's even cleaned out. He cleaned it out and still threw it in the trash where we could see it. And he's just sitting over there scraping it off the plate.
You're dealing with 3 things: Mars, morality, and stealing from babies. That's so much drama.
And they don't have spoons and forks. They just have sporks. So you're trying to slurp the baby food off the plate.
Out of that bottom,
it's still getting through the fork
rivets.
edges.
Yeah.
So you're like on the plate slurping it while they're getting enraged at you for stealing the baby food from this Mars
and you're like, well, I can't waste it. You're like sticking your tongue in the container trying to like get it out of the edges.
It's blueberry applesauce. It's not even technically a baby food. I'm eating it. It's just regular applesauce with a baby food slap on it.
Right.
And they're like, it's got vitamins added. It's baby food.
You're like, it's still people food. And they're like, I need vitamins. Who doesn't need vitamins? I'm a growing human being.
Let's get some real space problems out here.
Right? Yeah, well, because I would imagine you'd have to deal with that morality if you're actually in space. You know, you're short on rations. Be like, do we start stealing babies' food? It's either that or we eat people.
Do you lock the man who's eating the baby food in a closet because he's got space madness?
Oh, okay. Who's to say what space madness?
Why don't they have one real actor in there on Stars and Mars who's just like really fucking
just
making
like
it worse?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, there's that one dude who might. I don't want to spoil that part.
Right.
But he might be a sleeper.
I want
with
somebody
intentions
just
of
tripping people occasionally.
Yeah. Someone just being like, you know what? I'm really gonna sow some chaos.
Saying I'm gonna go wake up a person and then not waking them up and then being like, I tried.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Oh,
but it's all on camera. That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
What other kind of schemes?
Accidentally
dropping somebody's like half of their food on the ground.
I wish I could do that show multiple times in different ways, so I could be different types of like deceitful.
Go back in there in a mustache,
right? You show back up.
You were on here last season. You're like, no, obviously not. That guy didn't have glasses,
right? I mean, we've seen some seasons of Ink Masters where people
look completely
different. So, I mean,
and yet they keep coming back. Ink Master needs to not bring people
brutal.
Back. It's not fair.
Ladies and gentlemen, your next Martian, DJ Timbe.
Ink Master is not a fair show. That show made me more angry than any competition show we've watched.
But I love it. It's so good. Very good.
The people who can't win is crazy.
Win.
No.
Oh, just, you said can't win?
The classes and attitude of people who you can tell at the beginning aren't going to win is so obvious. It's nuts. It's like
this is definitely a certain attitude.
This is definitely like a Ghost of MTV show because it it has the remnants of like play up the drama. Yeah. We're still doing it.
Yeah.
Like, remember, this is also a competition reality show. The tattoos are a byproduct.
Well, I feel like a lot of the people also just like brought their own drama in because it'd be like most of the people who are trying to prove something to everyone else wouldn't really stick it out.
Oh yeah.
But it's like the people who are just like, I'm doing it because I love it and I want this title. They'd usually be the at least the final 5, if not the top 3.
Anybody who can't draw a regular picture on paper is not going to win.
Oh yeah, if you can't draw normally, you're not gonna do well.
It always ends up being
because you have to draw so much.
Or you can trace this week, and they immediately lose, and then all they do is go, It's not my fault. It's because
like,
the person moved and
you weren't
complained,
prepared for the skill.
and now they have a permanent squiggly line on their body.
Right? It's you marked on a person.
I will say a recommendation: if you're going to watch Ink Master, watch it in reverse order of seasons.
Oh, that's what we did. It's so good.
It's really fun that way.
So good.
Because like just analyzing it on the basis of what's already happened and the like growth it's made.
And like seeing where people are
you go back in time and it's way worse.
Yeah.
It's way harder to deal with.
It's
so
brutal.
It's way funnier.
And then you can appreciate what it's become in some facets.
That's true. It definitely has become way better. You appreciate the later seasons that you watched to start.
Yeah.
So it's almost like saying season 1 was better, but you end up saying season 8 was better than season 2 for sure.
Yeah. It's always moving forward.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Have we done that recently with any other show? I feel like there's something else that we want to start.
Can bring us to our topic of the MTV dating shows that I was talking about.
I miss BattleBots so much. Watch Stars on Mars, y'all. It's great. The prompt.
Yeah, so I had an idea. We're going to go through some of these dating shows from old MTV, 1990s to 2000-ish. See which one. You got to pick a couple that you might want to try.
Okay.
You can't just say no to all of them.
Okay. What are you assuming I'm just going to say no?
Or we'll think of ideas.
I'm in for it. Let's do it.
That could make all of them work potentially. All right. So this one from 95 to 98 called Singled Out. Let's see. I had premise 50 people whittled down to one person based on questions. And then you can just dump someone instantly and it's kind of a prank. Kind of does a little prank on them if you don't like things.
What does that mean?
But I guess
so wait.
Premises 50 people get whittled down to one person based on a series of questions, physical attributes, interests. There's also something where you can dump someone.
Oh, but wait, are the questions part of the show or is that done behind the scenes?
It's part of the show. They ask the questions.
So it's 50 like what, guys talking to a woman or vice versa?
I don't have enough information on this one.
Okay.
I'll get
it already sounds like something I wouldn't be as interested in.
All right, this other one's called Dismissed in 2001. Contestant takes 2 people on a date and then has to send one of them home. You date them both.
Kind of like that episode of Community with Troy and Abed dating that one girl, or like compete, talking to her and then she gets to choose between. Yeah, no, I like that. I'd do that. I'd like, co-date with the guy. It'd suck that if we had to spend time around each other, like the dudes, and if the dude was an asshole, that would suck. But
right,
that could be anybody. So
right,
yeah, why not?
But
do you get consolation money?
The only plus side would be to trying to be the guy on the other side, and that way you get 2 girls kind of trying to woo you. Or kind of be nice.
Well, that'd be cool.
But yeah,
I'd be down for that.
That's not so bad. But trying to compete with another guy, it seems like you would end up grunting like caveman so quick.
Right? Strong man.
Yeah.
I never cry.
The minute somebody took out a guitar, I'd probably end up taking their guitar and just destroying it. That's what I'm saying. I'm thinking of the things that the other guy would do that would immediately set you off. It'd be so hard to keep yourself under control.
I would have a hard time not just being like, this fucking douchebag.
Right, you got to be positive instead of being super negative and crazy.
Well, and you know what's funny? I'm pretty sure that's just a version of the internal monologue. Maybe not verbatim, but that a lot of dating competing guys have in their mindset. Because as soon as it becomes an internal competition, if it does, then there's some form of just this fucking asshole, or this guy, just some form of just whatever the spirit of that feeling is,
right?
And that I would definitely have a hard time.
Yeah.
That would be the challenge.
It would be really hard to muscle through
show.
that feeling. Yeah.
So if you're simultaneously dating, I'd have to just try to be more composed and just be like, stay out of your head.
Right. Your testosterone would tunnel vision you so hardcore.
I mean,
he would just be like, don't even look at what else is going on. Don't look at the cameras. don't look at the dude.
I appreciate you acknowledging my testosterone because that I feel like is the thing that like really like throws people off about me is because like in general I am so quiet and like nice, but I still get frustrated like a testosterone like person who exercises.
Yeah.
So like
you know, I feel like people don't acknowledge.
I just don't take out my anger on people.
Yeah, people don't acknowledge what is still happening in the man body. I mean, I feel like mostly because men even don't want to acknowledge it. It's like,
yeah, it's a very real thing.
It's very real. It's very like primal, and you hate to feel primal, and that's what makes you feel crazy.
Yeah, it's so very bizarre because it takes you out of your ability to manage yourself.
Right.
So then you have to learn how to manage yourself.
Right, and competing against the ancient need to try to impress and be like the bigger ape.
Yeah, which versus it just makes friendships
the
worse.
Societal side of being like, well, we could also be intelligent and we could bond over our interests. So it's like having to do both of those at the same time because there's a man sitting across the table also doing it.
Well, and that's the thing. It'd be hard to remove that competition idea because that's exactly the game.
Yeah.
So that my normal strategy of just being like, I'm going to walk away from this because this guy's an asshole and he's clearly not interested in being like friends. He just wants to compete over this woman. With that being the mindset, then I maybe could prepare for it and just be like, well, I know what's going to happen here, so I know I'm interesting.
Right.
I can just, be myself and do my thing because I know myself well enough.
Yeah, the intellectual definitely powers through.
Which is where the testosterone and aggression gets funneled for me is just being like, I'm going to outmaneuver you intellectually and strategically because I know my worth.
Right.
And if I know now, like, if we're not going to work out, it's never going to work out. So.
And I push through the wall that I'm hearing because everything is telling me to kill this guy.
And
across the table, flip the table, kill everybody in the room.
And so, like smash his forehead.
Everybody in the room, run away with the woman, King Kong style.
It's a real catch-22 with testosterone.
All right, now think about this.
So my deepest condolences all around.
It's rough. 2002 to 2003, tail daters.
Okay, what is this?
They had friends and family on a stakeout bus watching the date on cameras and giving commentary.
Like in the ear? Or like, is the person on the date, did they hear?
I don't think so, no.
Because that would be
That's all the information I have is that they were watching. I feel like I remember seeing this because they were like wacky like commercials or they do like weird shit with the graphics of the person. They'd say something and then like springs would jump out because they said something that was like a red flag and they'd be like, that's lame or whatever. So I definitely think
some movie magic thrown in there.
Could you go on a date knowing you were being judged by somebody's friends and family?
Oh, so is the person you're dating's friends and family who are judging you?
Yeah. Or, vice versa, I guess. You could put yourself in both positions.
Yeah.
That's the game.
Because if I'm going to end up being around them eventually, like I would much rather them see who I am without, the filter of them being around me. Like,
right.
I assume knowing it's just enough anyways. Because like, I feel like when I engage with people, I assume that anything I'm telling them is probably going to go to at least one other person.
Yeah. So what you're saying is if it matters, get it out of the way early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could probably do that.
Yeah.
It'd be weird.
Yeah.
I was thinking if it was my family, though, I'd probably have a harder time doing that. I don't want my family judging me.
Oh, yeah. like judging your actions on the date?
Because they're my family, so of course they're going to judge me in some form or another.
That's so much worse.
Yeah, I don't want to be involved.
Now that I think about it, that is worse.
Yeah.
Because they know you. They don't know the other person.
Exactly.
You have to walk away the information of them having seen you date or try to woo somebody.
Because if this date doesn't work out, I'm never going to see this family. That's a win-win right there. So you've got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
But if it's your own family, you've got everything to lose.
They know forever how you peacock.
The temporal mutation.
That's funny. Well, that one's not so bad then.
What is society's definition of peacocking versus real? Because I feel like I've been hearing a lot of different opinions recently.
That actually leads us into our next game show pretty easily. Called Room Raiders.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like roostering.
No,
same thing.
Room Raiders. One person goes into 3 different people's rooms. And off of that,
Wait, is it raiders or raiders?
Raiders.
Oh, so like you're pilfering.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Like you're taking something.
Temple of the Lost Raiders.
Raiders of the apartment college dorm. That's what I'm picturing.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Because I mean, if you're on a show called Room Raiders, you're probably not affluent.
Yeah.
Assuming you need the money.
So you think you could even
like many
if so, saying you're the person going in to the rooms, would you be like super judgmental about cleanliness, or would you be more like if it was dirty but there was a lot of interesting
three
stuff?
Rooms and judging based on the contents of the room.
Yeah, and deciding which you'd go on a date with based off of that.
Yeah. Because you can definitely tell a lot about a person, about their belongings, how they upkeep stuff,
right.
And just see what their interests are in general. Like, if it's a room full of I
could definitely tolerate a small amount of mess as well.
Yeah,
for sure.
like a decent amount of mess, but nothing that like as long as you can navigate the room and like it's not actively impeding your ability to maneuver,
not garbage,
or to lounge.
Mess, not garbage.
Not garbage.
Yeah. Not garbage.
Garbage is very different.
Not garbage.
Throw the trash away.
Dirty dishes is bad. My
dishes is a red flag.
Get younger brother had a real problem for a while with keeping dishes in his bedroom for a long time, and I was like,
I did it for a brief.
If you don't deal with this
years,
you're never gonna have a lady.
Yeah,
and he's engaged, so la-di-da.
Good for him.
I did that.
What am I doing wrong?
I did that. I mean,
what? What was that a reaction to? You or me?
Oh, not you, or really anything in the situation. Really, in more of just who's and what's and who's doing what.
Who's doing what?
Some people are just, connecting with who they find as quick as possible. I could definitely have seen a marriagey future in the first person I dated, and I chose not to do that. But
yeah, same.
Some other people,
and honestly, it was probably the best for both parties. I mean, obviously,
yeah,
like that's
what I'm saying. So
childhood relationships,
in this particular circumstance,
high school relationships are not.
In this particular circumstance, that's what happened. So I'm just like, look, if you worked it out and it's all going well, then do it, and do it hard, because marriage is way different than being a dating thing.
Yeah.
Get a dog.
Well,
dogs are good.
I have actually thought about getting a dog, but
no,
I feel like
get to get a dog.
Yeah,
you have to pay more money in rent.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not saying now. I've just thought about it though. I've been like, I think it would be nice to have a dog, especially out hiking. I would enjoy that a lot.
I know. I see that.
I could really groove on having a dog.
There's like several signs to grow to a golden poodle puppies around that I see when I'm driving, and I'm just like, oh, golden poodle,
nice, a goodle.
I don't want to have to pay a bunch of money in rent.
Yeah, right.
Pay him like 4 bills.
Well, that's one of those things where it's like it makes
bills.
more sense to have a pet when you can afford to have the pet and like reasonably like take care of it and yourself.
Dogs don't like apartments anyway.
Yeah. It's not enough room. There's not enough to do. Walk around. Yeah. They're always barking at your neighbors.
And we live in Arizona, so it's
jingling
like
keys.
Half the year, it's
they can't walk outside. Yeah, they're just like, my feet. They're literally melting. Oh. Get off of here.
But do you think your room could beat out 3 other guys' rooms?
Yes. My room is fundamentally very interesting. Seriously,
my room probably could have.
I've got
back in the day.
Well, you know what's wild? I was thinking about this yesterday. Is like almost everything I have hanging up on my walls, I know where I got it, or like I know how it got there, like or what it's from. Where like I don't have any arbitrary like art, nothing that's just there to spruce it up. It's all stuff that like I've gotten and I have a memory associated with. So like I don't know. As far as things that spur conversation, especially like I've got tons of books too. Like lots of things to ask me about art stuff. I've got a few figures of the few things that I'm
realizing
really
a lot of these game shows are just like how to put your foot in the door.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to put your foot in the door, here's the show.
Icebreakers, the series.
How to do it. Also learn that. Check out how these women are repulsed by these kinds of rooms. Change your room to not be like that. You'll be fine. Room. Not be like that. Just how to not be like that. Don't mimic the ones that are good. Don't be like the ones that are bad. That's the lesson.
Yeah.
Now here's one.
What about you?
Bad.
Well, I guess you're in a different situation because you're not looking for.
Yeah. But I mean, I think my room is cool.
At times, yeah, like
and I have cool gizmos and gadgets, so I'm not super worried about that. This one I wouldn't do. This next one, I don't even know if it's aptly named. It's called Date My Mom, 2004, 2006.
What?
So an 18 to 24-year-old goes on 3 separate dates with 3 separate moms to convince the single person to date their son. So the 3 moms are trying to convince the single person to date their son or daughter. So would you be confident in letting your mom convince a woman to go out with you and then beat out 2 other moms? Do you think your mom has what it takes to beat out 2 other moms and not make that woman's pussy drier than a desert while talking about her son? This is a hard one. I don't even know if I'd want to do this one, to be honest, because it doesn't make sense in my brain.
Well, it's like just saying, like, because like I think part of the question it like overrides. I think just like going back to just the tea and being an adult male about to turn 30.
Oh yeah.
The idea of just being like, well, let my mom speak.
Get your mom involved.
It just feels weird.
Super bizarre. Really, any level of intermediary, and definitely not your mom.
I think she would have my back.
But it's 18 to 24-year-old, so it's younger.
Yeah. So I would say she'd have my back, but like I know that my mom can also be perceived as intense because she's a very broadly experienced person in life, and so she has a lot of personality and opinions about stuff.
Yeah.
And to the general individual can come off as being like, just kind of harder to approach at times. She's incredibly friendly, and everyone that I know of who knows my mom speaks very highly of her, and she's a very intelligent woman and very strong personality. But my friends growing up were always afraid of her.
Yeah.
So it's like one of those things where it's like, it could go very well, but at the same time, I don't know. I don't know if, the accolades or well wishes of my mom would be received.
Right. Yeah.
In the way that they're intended.
The conversational tactics of your own mom in its attempt to like woo a person is weird because like I would have to end up going on like multiple dates with this person, like one night standing a person right after meeting like your mom as the first filter would be super bizarre. I'd be like, we need some time between you meeting my mom and you meeting me for that to like dull out of your memory, because I don't want you thinking about that. I don't know. It's very Oedipal and weird, but I don't have a problem with either of my moms like attempting like to do it. I mean, they both have decent personalities and would, but definitely like focus on the task at hand, which is trying to get me a date. I think they would do a good job.
Yeah.
So I don't think that is necessarily my problem. I think it'd be like
it also though, like if I may, like there's a little bit of it too where I could imagine like, feeling like then I'll feel like I didn't do it myself. So like, it goes back to that thing of just feeling personally fulfilled in effort, where it's just like, I know that in the areas that I don't try and don't receive effort, that's my doing. So it's like, if I get something and then feel like I don't deserve it, I'm going to beat myself up about it. And I'd much rather just feel the reward of having like gotten somewhere and like, made a connection myself as opposed to that. So I think that I'd have a hard time with that too. Like, I mean, does the show pay you? Or,
right.
No. Can I meet her mom?
Right.
Or her dad? Oof,
right.
That'd be weird. Be like, you have to date her dad. Be like, all right.
Date your dad. And
he's like, all right, we're not going to this restaurant. We're going to a ball game. Be like, oh, I have to sit through a fucking ball game? Oh, no.
I mean, my dad would do okay.
Work out. I'm not a ball game person.
My blood-related dad would do okay. I wouldn't let the other one. It's not a...
Let her date your dad?
That's everything's getting weird. So on to the next one, which works out because
these shows. What was that, early 2000s?
Yeah, that was 2004, 2006.
America on the decline. Let's
2004 to 2008 with a staggering 288 episodes. The show Next.
Oh yeah, that was the one.
The one I've been talking about. Yeah,
refresh me on
what this a lot.
That was about.
So, contestant goes on 3 blind dates. And at any point during the date, the contestants say next and end the date. Now, the contestants will usually, or the introductions for the contestants usually have a weird, quirky thing. And then the the blind date usually has like a weird, quirky, like dirty laundry thing as like a talking point. And they'll do like bullet points on like when they're introducing the date, and it's
like quality.
It always seems like there's some weird one, and that was kind of like a quirk of the show.
So they'd be like, here's some traits, and then here's a wacky trait.
Yeah. And then the dater, the person who is of the three, it's only $1 for every minute that the date lasts. And then they walk away with that amount if the person says next.
So if you're interesting, you stand to make a lot of money.
Yes. But you could also just take the money at the end.
Yeah.
So it's like you can either have a long date, but this was 2005 or 2008, and the person's just like, well, you were at the end of this episode and the day went well. You could either continue the date or we give you like $12. So it's like, it doesn't seem to be worth it, taking the money, but I think for drama's sakes, a bunch of times they did take the money because it was just funnier that way. But
couldn't you also just be like, hey, how about like if it goes really well, you just be like, why don't I just contact you outside of the show?
I'm sure that happened.
I'll take the money.
I'm sure that happened.
We'll hang out. We'll use that money. I'll buy you a beer.
But I'm sure there was also some like just regular acting going on, and I'm sure they probably got paid as contestants. But as ignoring all that, like do you think you would sit on a bus waiting for like a guy ahead of you to go, and then think that you could? I mean, you probably have some interesting bullet points. I mean, we both have like stuff that's cool that we do.
I mean, we've talked about like,
you do music stuff. I do fire stuff.
It's like hard to self-describe because we do a couple different things. And it's like, when you try to like give yourself a bullet point, it can, like it's like music, art, reading. Those I think are my three big ones. Gaming, gaming's absolutely a big one.
Yeah. But you wouldn't want to throw that necessarily straight on a dating bio because you only have a small amount of time and you want to be as interesting as possible. I mean, think about
music.
When we watch like Kill Tony, like if a person was like, I do gaming, and they're like, oh, professionally? And you're like, no, like that's not what they want to hear.
Music.
They want to hear something interesting. And you know how
I'd be like a bartend professionally.
That would be
pretend
fun.
To be.
Definitely, you can lean in on that one for sure.
Pretend to be the proletariat in the castle.
At this point, that's definitely a quirky enough detail that it would definitely get you in the door. And then the other stuff would sustain.
I think ladies who would find that interesting would be ladies I tend to be more interested in.
For sure.
Because like, I think I'm a robust and theatrical person. I don't think I come off like that a lot, but that's, I think, more of the core of my personality. Just being
I like the opportunity.
I like stories. Grew up on TV, so a lot of narratives, TV and reading. I love a good story. But to answer your question, I don't know. I don't really like that format.
Right, yeah. It seems like it could be too short and temporary, like you have to just say things interesting as quickly as possible.
Well, and just like the idea of just like sitting in a bus feels weird.
Or just would you try to go for shock and get your episode taken off? Just like, I've just been molested. I've got like facial reconstructive surgery, and also
I'm not that type of sensationalist.
I've killed a man.
Yeah,
and they're like,
I don't do that.
One of these isn't real, or two of them, and they're just like, oh God, I don't want to meet this person at all. And then you get off the bus and you're like just a normal man, and they're like, is he a serial killer? And then maybe
I don't know.
Your episode goes great.
I feel like I weird people out enough already.
Right? You need more time. The answer is time is money, and this is not the good format.
People have to get to know me for me to get close to them.
Right.
That's a fact.
These other ones don't seem that interesting. The only other one that seems interesting is there's the show Exposed with a lie detector. That seems fun.
A lie detector. That sounds fun. That sounds exciting.
The friend gives them...
Keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
Wait, a lie detector test?
I'm trying to read.
Okay.
Contestants of the truck monitor.
I'll give a brief
opinion
data
asks two potential maze questions.
General dating. I don't get the general dating thing. It's
Oh,
here we go.
Yeah. I guess they're both hooked up to a lie detector, and then the friend whispers answers into like a mic. So the two people on the date dating the one person are hooked up to lie detectors. They get asked questions, and the person in a van tells the person dating
the one person
who's lying and who's telling the truth.
Yeah.
Whoa. And you got to go through, I think, the whole date too.
Oh man. So wait, but do the people who are being lied to? I guess they would know that person knows if they're lying or not. Presumably.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I would turn that into a joke and like find certain questions to lie about intentionally. So then that person would know as like a sense of my humor almost.
Right.
I don't know. Like it probably wouldn't work out the way I would hope. But
try to tell like exaggerated lies.
Like
answer and like exaggerated lies or like sarcasm.
Yeah. Or
like
just
say something sarcastic and like
or
funny,
things that are like obviously not true. Be like, yes.
Yeah.
Just to see because they
have to say yes or no. You can't give an extended answer.
In essence of action is my humor. So like, if it's going to be someone that I would enjoy to date, and we're taking this seriously as also a show, then you have to get my humor in order for me to want to be around you. Anyways, because otherwise we're not going to get along. If you don't appreciate my comedy, then it's just
I
don't
know if a comedy we're not going to get a lie detector though. I guess but
that's the joke. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know what else there is to a competition to this. Either you're lying or you're not lying. No, that's what's confusing.
But yeah, see, this is what I'm.
I guess you just
about.
tell the truth and just try to get to the end.
Joke. That's the joke.
I would do it. I guess I would do it and just tell the truth. I don't really have a problem with this one. Or not.
Clearly, we're not dating because you don't get it.
Nope. I mean, half the time, either one of you will say something, and I'll just be like either stoned or zoned out.
Me or Rachel?
And I'll immediately just take it serious. I think we all kind of do it a little bit.
Oh yeah. There are degrees. I feel like,
and then just be like, "Oh, you were kidding."
Yeah.
Or they're just like, "I was kidding," and you're like, "Oh."
Yeah.
Honestly, that grinds my gears a little bit too.
For
my
me,
own
it's
self.
like either getting a joke. I think you're being totally serious, and I'm going to answer in a serious manner. I've got those two responses,
or the fact checking bone
and the getting it part. But then sometimes my brain's just like, this is a real thing that's happening. You need to take it seriously, and I'll just be wrong, and I'm like, oh.
Right. I mean, the fact checking bone is definitely kind of like this.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're in a relationship too, you definitely want to be like, are we on the same page or are we not? So that's kind of sometimes where it's like you're trying to joke or she's trying to joke, and then it's like, no, or we're not on the same page and you're not trying to joke and you're just like, ha ha. You're like, well, that's not funny. And you're like, oh, whoops.
Yeah. That's where I find difficulty.
Get squirrely.
I feel like when I encounter stuff where
and my auto answer at this moment is my humor, that's funny.
yeah, that's funny. Or I feel like when my humor bumps up against somebody's expectation of my general sentiments, because the way I present myself is always I try to be kind to people. I try to not over crass my first impressions with people. I don't want to just come off swearing like a sailor if I can avoid it. I love swearing. It's one of my favorite things on earth.
Yeah.
But I try to avoid it in mixed company just because that's kind of what I grew up around, just trying to be polite when you're around people that you meet. But I feel like a lot of times when my humor then bumps up against that expectation, then people are just like, what?
Yeah.
From you? What? Yeah. And I'm just like, can I not find things funny like anyone else finds things funny? I don't find most things that people find funny to be funny.
Right.
I'm desensitized to basic humor.
Oh, yeah. No, that's for sure, too.
That's
definitely real.
And I appreciate it for what it gives other people, but there are many social jokes that I've just heard a million times because...
Well, and the desensitization, too, of even scrolling, I hate, I just see most memes and don't usually make even a noise. Just silence.
Yeah.
If something makes me do a strong exhale, that's something.
Yeah, I'll be like, I see what I see what you.
And I don't love how desensitized I've become, but it's also at least maybe it helps with getting arriving to the humor of other things faster, which is kind of nice.
Oh yeah,
being like,
you're still
something else
grooving
that's
that
worse is
pathway in
funnier,
your brain.
Yeah.
So you're still getting the experience of seeing it, comprehending
it's not
it.
the physical explosion of something happening.
Yeah, you're not getting like the pop of something new mixed with a new take or perspective necessarily that you hadn't thought of. It's just more so a recognition or reaffirmation of being like, yeah, that's a comedy.
Right.
That's a thing right there. That's a unit of expression.
Or even
seen it. It's
I was on
it's exposure.
I was on the Lord of the Rings memes and the Spider-Man memes subreddits for so long, and I'm off of them completely. And then you'll show me one, and I'll just be like, "Do I laugh? I don't even know what to do now. Like I get it immediately, like too fast. I get it, and go, I guess I should laugh, but then also like I got it really quick, so my brain isn't even sending the trigger to laugh.
Well,
it's very weird. It's a very weird paradigm. I feel like I think a lot of people get that.
I feel that when I don't find somebody's joke funny, and like I don't know how to respond to them, like if I'm in person, because I'm just like, like I've literally told people before, I'm like, no, I see it and it's funny, but it just doesn't. That doesn't make me laugh. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be rude, but it's just not funny enough to make me laugh.
Yeah.
It's
well, and you don't want to have to explain that you're like desensitized to things all the time.
No, like that's why you're just like, oh, sorry.
I have a friend who would probably try stand-up before I would, and probably has, and probably should at some point.
Try it. It scares me, but I would love to try it.
But like he's tried one-liners out on me a bunch of times. It doesn't even
doesn't
bring like a gasp out of my nose, and it's usually just because like it's a non-contextual like dark joke that's obvious and not new, and I'm like, I don't know if you like heard this and you're trying it out, but you didn't make this up, and that's I think triggering a bone more in my brain, because it's like I think there definitely been like a couple of like 9/11 jokes, and I'm like, well, that's not new territory, and it's
definitely
not
new territory.
Funny, and it's like not.
It's not shock or sensationalist.
Yeah.
At this point, it is just kind of like, all right, yeah.
Where comedy is, it's funnier to be like to do something off the cuff, and if that's where you land, that's fine. But planning for it's not as great. I don't know, and I mean that's just also kind of brings us back to the like media, people liking media that's live instead of media that's fiction. Like they're really getting more into nonfiction more. And like, while it may be the idea of like idolizing celebrities, I think it's more of just people wanting more grounded stuff going on.
Well, yeah, because we're burnt out on things that portray a false reality. And now people who grew up like with those worlds constantly around them, who are experiencing their own reality much more viscerally and in contest with what they grew up around seeing on TV. Because like I experienced that myself, like lots of moments of being like, man, this is not the way that I expected some of these situations in life would present themselves, because I had expectations
my head in agreement.
built,
yes,
built off of the childhood and exposure to media. And we are kind of the first generation to really grow up with a major inundation of television and media. And so we were the test group.
Yeah.
And it's really, really screwed over a lot of people in our age group.
I haven't had enough time to double blind test this media.
When I feel like
see if anybody cares about it anymore.
I feel like the only thing that's helped me maintain my own sanity was just finding ways to make it work for me and like interpret like lessons learned and not situations, and to learn to eventually let go of the expectations, but to keep perspectives that I learned about from like fiction media. So it's like, because perspectives in fiction are still real perspectives that can't come from a human mind.
Yeah.
So it's like you can kind of like
I'm not saying there's not a value in it. I just mean more of like what's attracting the general audience to it.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Where it's just because like it's actually happening. It's not something that is so fake or so green screen.
Right. I mean, who knows what people are taking out of the Oppenheimer movie. I mean, like it happened.
Yeah.
Nobody seems to be having much of a problem with it. I saw one article, which is funny. It's kind of ridiculous to read. We're going to get into some of the weird territory now, but basically saw an article that was like, society is re-examining the atomic bomb since the Oppenheimer movie and wondering, like, did we really even need to drop the bomb on Japan? And it's like, first off, I think that might have been the point. Second off, I think that's the point of the current times. And third off, like, are we gonna cancel World War II now? Is that where we're at as a society? We were, canceling dead celebrities, but now we're gonna cancel like events. You think like Twitter claps back at World War II, says we don't think everything we did was so nice. Maybe we didn't need to join the Allies. Jeez. View 6 tweets that have an opinionated take on our allies during World War II.
Well, I certainly hope not, but we might start canceling.
I'm going to see those articles.
People try to cancel books. People try to cancel.
Be so funny.
Talking. So why not cancel things that have no say in the matter? Why not cancel all of history? Because that's what the asteroids do. That's what the weather does. All things erode to time. So honestly, I recently I've been feeling very like, I'm just going to let the world rotate and do its thing and just really try to just like take every day as I can and just try to be satisfied doing my best, like being a decent person if I like for myself and for other people. And that's all I can do. Like I don't have the energy to just keep being like, what if all these things, cuz I've done that my whole life and I'm just like I'm going to keep running simulations about the future, but I just can't think about them too much with just being like, well, what do we do?
Something I thought yesterday, just pick something that you really like and just Book of Eli it. Stick it deep in your brain, learn it really good. When society collapses, that's what you tell everybody. It can be something as useless as learning a book. It can be something as important as learning irrigation.
I could keep the story of the Expanse alive.
Yeah, right? That's what I'm saying.
In a post-apocalyptic scenario.
Tell a couple of good stories and try to keep it through in my brain.
I'd start the myth of James Holden and Naomi Nagata as these mythic heroes. Like,
I mean, that might not be the end all be all of the Bible scenario, but
I told you the
if we're
whole
getting
plot.
there,
It's pretty biblical.
If we're getting there, we're definitely going to have a One Piece v everybody else tribe because it's definitely the great arc of our time. But
man, imagine that post-apocalyptic
the great epic
world
of our time,
where people,
and I'll fight everybody on that. Everybody.
So a society,
it meets the qualifications, and nothing else does.
Does it?
Yes. It's been going for longer than anything else, with more world building than anything else. It's more complicated than anything else, more concrete characters with concrete backstories than any other piece of media.
That's what they say about Christianity.
It probably beats Christianity. So that's my church. That's my Book of Eli. That can be the episode title.
What?
The Book of Eli. Probably not, because that's copyright.
The Mars dating handbook or something. Maybe that's the episode title, because I was thinking something with date night or dating.
Yeah, we did talk about that for a while.
And I like the Mars theme, keeping that in there a little bit for episodes. Martian.
I was gonna say, I did have another story, but I can save it till next time.
Martian date book. What's it called? Rolodex? Book. Eli's.
Oh yeah,
Martian.
Oh yeah.
Book.
Eli's little black book. How
Eli's
about that?
Little black book.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty good. I like that.
It's kind of weird, but it makes sense contextually. If you've made it all the way to the end, you'll understand contextually.
That's right.
The title of this episode.
This is how you get paid.
That's your reward.
Is that you made the full loop, the reference, the cycle. Congratulations, adventurer! You have completed this quest. This is
the prize.
That's what XP is. It's just experience. That's why it's called experience points. America. If you're not a gamer, that's what it means. If you are a gamer, you're like, no shit.
You worked that out. There you go.
I know. I saw you looking at me, and I was like, duh. of course,
didn't see my look of disappointment that I had in one single moment.
Hey,
but it's cool. We muscled through. We're there.
It also proves that spontaneous generation of thought is real.
Oh yeah, you'll loop back around.
Multiple people have multiple revelations and ideas.
Sometimes you think it's fresh, and then you realize,
and you're like, "This is what it's." That's why it's called.
You wondered if you could skip with both legs, and it turned out that's just running.
It turns out you've just been high the whole time.
That's just running, everybody.
That's just running. The Hackurate podcast.
That's been another episode of Hackurate podcast.
Thank you for listening.
Hope you had a good time. See you next time.
Later.
I guess we could have said our names also.
I'm Aaron Howell.
That's Aaron Howell. I'm Nathan Goodman.
Bye-bye.
Bye.